Alrighty, we are good to go. G'day there, everyone. Daniel Anderson here. Now, welcome to everybody watching on the live stream. I haven't done one of these for a while, so look, I'm looking to do these. Look at least once a week, where I'm going to use this as a platform to not only record some content, but also interact with you guys as well live in the Q&A. So we are live on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So you can comment. I've got the comments up. So if you just want to say hi or just let me know that you are around, ping me in the comments and they will come up as well. So look, the topic for today's conversation is going to be all around unlocking the power of productivity with Microsoft Syntex and showing how this can transform the way you create business documents. And specifically, we're going to look at the content assembly and how we can use that, different data sources and things like that to be able to really streamline the way that you can create templated types of documents. So think about things like contracts or statements of work or those type of things or policies or anything that kind of needs to be created from templates. And we often, when I'm explaining this type of thing, it's kind of like the modern mail merge on steroids, really, where we can have different data sources, whether it's a Microsoft list or whether it's just people entering information into a form. We can have that and dynamically generate our documents. Now, I do have a few little slides to go through first, and then what we will do is then jump into a specific demo as well, and then we'll step through what this actually looks like and how we actually use it. So a little bit about myself first for those of you that are watching that don't know who I am. My name is Daniel. I am a Microsoft MVP. I've been working in the Microsoft 365 space and SharePoint space for a long time now, probably 15 or 17-ish years now. I do a lot of speaking, not only here in Australia, but also internationally at different conferences and things like that. If you aren't following, then there's a few tags there that you can follow me along. LinkedIn's probably the best platform right now. So if you want to have some interactions, give me a DM on LinkedIn there as well, and we can take that conversation there. Also Twitter, and there's the email address as well. So before we kick things off, let's have a little bit of an overview of what we're actually talking about here. So Microsoft Syntex content assembly, the capability, so it is part of Microsoft Syntex, and it does allow you to automatically generate these standard repetitive business type of documents. So quite often when we're working with organizations or speaking with organizations, these type of things happen all the time. So when we might have our documents inside a SharePoint, and the way that we create and start our documents is that we copy it from a pre-existing document. We then rename it. We then need to go through the document and find where we need to change it and things like that. So obviously there's a lot of issues and areas for errors in that type of process. So what we want to try and do is automate that. So things like contracts and statements of work that I mentioned at the top, service agreements, even letters of consent and those type of things that are kind of repetitive, that we start with a template. We want to just try and insert what we need to into those documents and then create it. Okay. Now there is an extended capability here that we could potentially even tie in something like DocuSign. So if we're thinking of letters of consent or service agreements that we need to create first, but then also send out for somebody to sign, then we can tie all this in together and have an end-to-end process really in an automated way. So you think about the amount of time that is that you spend creating these documents at the outset, but then also having to then send that out for signature tends to still be an email attachment. People then sign it or print it out even and sign it physically and then send it back. We need to manage our document workflow like that. But with something like Syntex Content Assembly, we can not only create the documents and generate those documents at the outset, but then send it and complete that entire process as well. So we can do all of these obviously quicker, more consistently, and it will reduce the amount of errors that we do have. Now, there are a few requirements and limitations around this right now. It does only work with docx and doc files, so Word documents basically, and there are a few limitations. So as we can see on the screen here, we shouldn't include comments and track changes. Making sure that text fields and images aren't text wrapped. So you know how when you insert an image that we wrap the text around images. The template and the documents are only associated to one library. So that's something important to note. So these templates and the document only in a single document library. Now, the uploaded, and this is something that catches a few people out, and there's a lot of questions around this, is that the uploaded document is going to be saved as a separate copy in the forms directory. So you'll see in a minute that we start from a template from a document. It might be living in a SharePoint library somewhere, but when we create one of these, it is actually going to be a separate document, but we can manage that templated document in the library. Once the document is created from a template, it's not associated to that original template. So along those same lines, when we create our initial modern template from a document, that isn't connected. So that document still lives in wherever it lives, but we've now got an instance of that template in that particular document library. Now, what about licensing? So there are a few things that we need to understand about the licensing side of things too. And have a look here about the following, or the tasks that do require a Syntex license for the user that is performing these actions. So when we're applying unstructured document processing models, so this is kind of outside of the scope of what we're going to demo here today, but when we're doing document processing models in a library, that then, unlicensed users can be granted access to the content center that's part of Syntex as well, and can create models, but can't apply them to the document library. So can create them, but can't apply them. So create structured document processing models or free-form document processing via entry points in the library, again, needs a license. Uploading content to a library where custom models have been applied. Again, all of these require a Syntex library. Running unstructured processing models on demand, creating modern templates with content assembly. So that's the one that we need to focus on. So you do need a Syntex license for creating modern templates that we're going to have a look at today, and also generating documents from the modern template. So both those actions relate to what we're going through today and does require a license. Okay, so just something worth noting there. That's enough of this. Let's now go through and have a look at actually this in action. All right. So what we can see on the screen here is a template. It's a contract management template that has now become available for you to use and for you to deploy and add to your tenant. Now, we've got two things we're going to look at here. So we are going to have a look at our service agreements. So you can see on the screen here, I'm just going to flick over to service agreements. It is a document library, but you can see that we've got different metadata fields associated to this document library. So things like client and addresses and job IDs, service types and things like that have been added to the library. I'm going to use that information for our template creation. Okay. Now, the modern template, the library that we are going to use is this confirmation letters. So we want to be able to create a confirmation letter based on information from our service agreements. Okay. Now, when we click on the new button in document libraries, this is probably something that's fairly familiar. So we've got the new drop down, and then we've got a number of default content types, we'll call them, or documents that we can create. So folders and Word and Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, we're probably all familiar with this. Now, what we can also see now I'm logged in as Megan here, does have a license. We can click and use this new functionality, or newish now, I guess, called Create Modern Template. And that's what we're going to use and see use for this purpose. Okay. So when I click on Create Modern Template, you can see that we need to start with a templated file. All right. And remembering from the start of this session is that this file isn't associated to what we're creating after we've created it. So the document that I'm going to use is stored on my computer, but we can use a document that is living somewhere else in SharePoint or in your OneDrive or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to browse this device and I'm going to use this sample confirmation letter Word document. So remembering we can only use right now the Word documents, DOCX or DOC files. It's going to load this document into our, let's call it our template editor, our Syntex template editor. So we can see here that it's a fairly simple document, right? And we've got some placeholder text here that we are going to then insert our information, our dynamic information from that service agreement list or library, should I say. So I'm just going to I'm going to go back out to this site. I'm just going to open up the site. I'm going to look at the service agreement. So I'm going to have that open side by side. So how do we then use these placeholders? So what we can see here is what I need to do is I need to select the component of text in our template. So here I've got the name section or the name part of the template selected. I can then click on new field. So I can then give this a name. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to type in name for this particular field, and we are going to click next. That's the part that we're going to replace. Now we can see here that we can determine how authors fill in this field. All right. So we can choose entering a text or a date, and we can choose different types of information. So the type of info, single line of text, multiple lines of text, number, date, time, email, and hyperlink. So we can choose that. But you'll also see these two. So we can select from choices in a column of a list or a library, all right, which is pretty powerful. And also we can use a term set or term, and we can select from that part of SharePoint as well if we've got that set. For this example, we are going to use information that already pre-exists in a library, all right? So we're going to select choices from a column of a list or a library. And remembering, we've got this service agreements library here that we're going to use as the basis. So I'm going to select, click the select button, and then I am going to choose that list that appears automatically here. So there's the document library here, service agreements. I'm going to click next. Now, what we're going to do here is we need to then choose the column. Okay, so here I'm going to choose the title column. It's just been renamed to name. All right, so we'll choose, actually what we'll do, let's just have a look at the client. We shall scroll across and we've got, let's use the client column. Okay, so let's move, not the title. So we're going to choose client and we shall hit save. Now that that's done, we're going to untick allow authors to add new choices because I don't want them to be able to add. I want them to be able to select only from that library. So now we've got our first component done. Okay. So the next part that we're going to do is we will choose our address and our location. So I'm going to select this part of the library, part of the letter template, and I'm going to add another new field. So let's just go address or location as the name of this field. We're then going to click next and then select from choices from a list in a column from a list, same thing. So we're going to choose the service agreements. We'll click next. And again, what we can see over here is that we've got this column called client address. So I am going to look for client address. We'll hit save. I'm not going to allow authors to add new choices. We'll hit save. Now here, again, we just got two more things. Actually, we'll do three more. So we've got service type. Let's add a new one for service type. And we'll click next. We'll select from choices again. We'll choose our service agreements library. And we will choose, if we scroll down, we should have service type. There it is there. And then we've also got one last one from our library called job ID. So I'll highlight job ID. Again, select our service agreements library, and we will look for job ID. There it is there. And we'll untick allow and we'll hit save. So now these parts are now all set up. Okay. Now let's just have a look here. So if I select name, we'll go address or location. We'll hit cancel. We'll hit service type. We'll hit cancel. Now that job, maybe I didn't hit save. So let's do that again. All right. So let's highlight job ID. We'll go new field. Let's go job ID. We'll go next. We'll select our library that we want the data to come from, which is service agreements. And we'll whack in job ID. We'll untick allow and we'll hit save. And that is better. So now we are all set. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 that are coming from that library. Now this part here, this designer, I want to make this a different type. So let's go designer name and we'll click next. Now this one here, I am going to use this as a fillable field. All right. So type of info, let's go single line of text and we'll hit save and we're good to go. So now what we can do is we can save this as a draft if we want to, or if we're ready to publish right from here, then we can publish it straight from here. So I am going to, first of all, change this name. So let's go for not sample. Let's go for confirmation letter. And we will now publish this. There's the template name and we'll hit publish. So now what we're going to do is that's going to publish to the library. And then what that's going to allow us to do is from the new menu, choose that, that option. So we can now go to new and you can see that we've got this new option for confirmation letter. Now we've still got all of these other options here though. So we can go edit the new menu. I'm going to turn off all of these, so make them not available and only have this publish template as the available option in the new button. So I'll click new and I'll go new confirmation letter. Once we do that, then that's going to load up this, this editor again. And this is where we can basically fill out a form and dynamically generate that document for us. Everything else is a template except for what we choose here. So what we can do here is, because we linked this name column to the client column here in the service agreements library, we can choose who this is for. So let's choose Ashok. So we'll choose that person. And what's cool about this is that it's already dynamically pulled in all the other information from that item in that list. So you can see here the address, the service type, and the job ID from that one row in, or from that one instance of the in the library. It's pulled that information in for us automatically, so we don't have to go through and set this. Then we can pop in our designer name. So this could be open to multiple people in our team. We can put each person's name in, or whoever it is that the designer is in this case, that's completing this service, this confirmation letter. We then click create the document, and again here we can now name our document. All right, so let's name our document, and like so, and we'll go create. That's now creating that document. It's going to place it in that SharePoint library automatically for us, and it's going to have all of that information done. So once I click done, I'm taken back to the library. Here's the document that's been generated. Let's just open up this document for us as well so that we can have a look at the information. So we can see here that we've got the name, we've got the address, but look at this. This is something that's a bit of an oversight on my part here. So we'll go back in and edit this template, and we can see where that's done. We can also see here that here's the name of the designer that was filled out there. So how do we manage these templates? Because you can see there that we've got something that isn't quite right. So if I look back at our, let's go back to our service agreements. So we had our job ID, but then we also had service type. So this first component here was meant to be service type. So let's go back in now and edit this template. So if I go back to confirmation letters, we'll go back to the library, close these tabs down. Now, under the new menu, when we go to edit new menu, we can, down the bottom here, we've got our options here for our modern templates. So here is where we can edit, we can delete, or we can unpublish if we want to. All right. So when I click the edit button here, I'm taken back into the editor, and then I can adjust or change our template if we need to. So this here, we want to, it's this service type that we want to change because it isn't correct. Okay. So let's select our service type because that's what we want. So we can see here, we want to edit this section. So let's go edit. We'll go next. We'll go, you can see here that the job ID has been selected instead of the service type. So let's just click select. We'll use our service agreements library, and we want to have service type. Let's go save. You can see that's been changed to service type. We'll untick this and we'll now hit save. So you can see we've now got service type. We've got job ID. We've got, and you can see here where it's coming from, and you can see the column, job ID, service type, client address, client, and that's a manual input. So let's publish this. And we'll go back into the library now and just double check to make sure that that has now is going to work as we expect. So we'll click new. We'll go confirmation letter. We're taken again, open up to the fillable section. And on the right-hand side, we will have all of our fields that we need to, that we can fill out. Let's go to instead. We've got the address that comes through. We've got the service type that comes through now, which is exactly what we want. And we've got our designer name. So let's just pop my name in here and we'll create this document. Again, we get the opportunity to name the document. So I'm just going to say the name of this person. It will now create this document, and that is now going to create it. We're going to be taken back to the library and the document will be there. We'll open it up. So now we've got two. This is the one, the new one. Let's just make sure that we've got all of our details in, and that looks a lot better. So we've got our service type, we've got our service number, name, address, and our designer name there. All right. So as we can see there, the ability to use Syntex with dynamic or content assembly with Microsoft Syntex is something that's going to be really, really powerful for you to dynamically create and generate those business type of documents when we've got data stored in different locations. So again, what we might see and what we might have is a lot of different, or different areas where we want to pull data from. So we might have a library like we just saw there. We might have a need for manual entry that we saw as well. But you also have the ability, as in addition to both those two, to use a term set or manage metadata in that case too. All right, so it does become really, really powerful for us to create those documents. All right, so that's all we're going to do for this session. As I said, this is going to become a regular occurrence. So I will try and get this done at least once a week, where we will come and do a short live session on both LinkedIn and on YouTube as well. So watch out for that. If you're not following here on LinkedIn, head over to the profile, hit the bell icon so that you can get these updates of when we will be going live and when we will be doing these sessions. Also, if you're not subscribed to the Microsoft 365 Boost newsletter, head over to modernworkcollective.io, pop your email address in, and these type of videos will be shorter than this, obviously, but will come delivered directly to your inbox every single day. So far, at the time of this live recording, there's been 188 consecutive training sessions delivered. So if you would like to become 1% better every day, along with thousands of others that are subscribed, head over to modernworkcollective.io and pop your email address in, and you will start receiving all of those training sessions as well. So thanks everybody for joining live. There aren't any questions in there. In the next session, we will have some dedicated Q&A time for some interaction there too. But I hope that brought you some value today, and I will see you. I'll end this session now, and I will see you next time.